Evening, guys, and welcome to the 6th episode of What the Amateurs Can Learn from the Pros. And I've got a very special guest on tonight, and thanks for her giving up her time. Just going to announce some of her achievements. She's just announced that she's going to be going to her third Olympic Games. She's had 129 World Triathlon starts with 26 podiums and 17 wins. She was a full-time lawyer before going to the 2012 Olympics. She represents South Africa. She's been to the London and the Rio Olympics, and she was a silver medalist in the Commonwealth Games, and she also came 5th in the World Triathlon Series, and she's been to 2 Commonwealth Games. So many achievements, and we're going to discuss these tonight. So firstly, I'd like to welcome to the live show Gillian Sanders. So welcome to the show, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. It's going to be really cool to chat to you this evening.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So we've gone through loads of your achievements, and I've just gone through them. So tell me about your achievements.
Yeah, I'd say qualifying for, now 3 Olympic Games. It sounds weird to say that now, but having been to 2 Olympic Games and 2 Commonwealth Games, I suppose I'm really proud of those. And the silver medal at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, that was in the mixed relay. That was probably one of my proudest moments for Team South Africa. We were underdogs for that race, so it was really nice to beat the likes of Australia and New Zealand, etc. We didn't beat the English, sadly. They were on top of the podium, but we managed to come second. And I guess podium in World Cups on the World Triathlon circuit, and a 5th place, I think it was the Yokohama World Triathlon Series, which is obviously the highest level of racing on the World Triathlon circuit. So I've been racing now for quite a long time, and I guess those are probably my achievements that I'm most proud of, and for keeping going so long as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're amazing achievements, and to keep competing at a high level, and you were at the World Triathlon Series at Leeds the other week, and you were Yokohama, weren't you? I saw you were there. So to be competing at a high level, it's just amazing. So out of all them achievements, what would you say stands out the most? Or what are you most proud of?
That's difficult. I would say there hasn't been a South African female to podium at a World Cup, I think, since like the 1990s, and I was the first one to podium at a World Cup. So I think that was a really proud moment for me. It was just, I think, after the Rio Olympics in 2016. So, that was great, because, you always want a podium at the highest level. I've just missed it at the World Series level. So to have to do it at a World Cup level is something I'm really proud of. And then also just winning that silver medal at a major games. I think it's any athlete's dream to win a medal at a major games. So I'd say those 2 probably are up there at the top.
No, amazing achievements. Okay, so I was told from someone that said he knows you from when you were a child. He said your whole family were triathlon mad. Is that true? Like you've been doing it since you were a kid? He said he remembers doing events and your whole family would turn up.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. So my dad was and kind of is still an avid age group triathlete. He's been to loads of world champs and stuff, medaled at quite a few. So he was a marathon runner before he got into triathlon, and my mom was a sprinter. They both represented South Africa for athletics, and actually met through athletics. So I guess I was bound to be born into a sporty family. And then, my sister and I, we both joined up with the local swimming club. I think we swam from the age of 6. And school sports in South Africa, and particularly the town that I grew up in, Pietermaritzburg, there's a strong emphasis on it. It's a really sporty city. Like the likes of Kevin Peterson, etc., all come from that particular town. He actually swam at my swimming club. So yeah, I just guess conducive to the environment that I grew up in. This emphasis on sport at school, the great like swimming club system in the town where I grew up, and my parents also being involved in sport. Yeah, I was bound to to go into something to do with sports in my life. Yeah, but I think I did my first triathlon when I was about, I'm going to say 10 maybe, like an Iron Kids thing. I was just off the back of like a race that my dad was doing, like a local race. And I think my sister and I did it. Yeah, and we were kind of hooked from then. We had the swimming background and we did like a lot of athletics and stuff at school, but I think I cycled on like a pink BMX or something like that. But yeah, but we were both pretty hooked from then. But I think, yeah, just kept the fun elements and weren't really pushed. Yeah, I guess we're just self-motivated. The swim club was always really competitive, but it was with all our friends. So it was just always, you know, more fun than anything else. So yeah, just really lucky to have grown up in the environment that I did.
Oh, that's really good. So what made you go to triathlon? But yeah, your family came from athletics background. Was there a reason why you wanted to go differently?
I think because my dad had like delved into triathlon at that stage, and that was his emphasis. And I think we both just wanted to be like dad, you know.
Yeah.
My mom kind of had stopped doing, you know, running and stuff by then, so we just got dragged along to all these triathlon races, and I guess yeah, just really enjoyed it. Also did biathlon, which was like swimming and running in those days. It was like used to run on the track and then used to have a rest and used to swim in the pool. And then a lot of people, yeah, who did the biathlon kind of got into triathlon. So we also did the biathlon when we were kids, and then yeah, like a natural progression into triathlon from there.
Okay, that's very interesting. I've got a question actually from my wife. She's put on here because she's a lawyer. So and I noticed that you mentioned that it was quite an achievement for you. I think you said from a full-time lawyer, 18 months to the Olympics, was it? You said.
Yes.
So
yes.
So how? So what did you were a lawyer? So what did you specialize when you were a lawyer to start off with?
So insurance litigation, professional indemnity work, basically. Yeah, that's what I mostly did in London. So in South Africa, I did a bit of general litigation mostly, but also with an emphasis on professional indemnity work. Yeah, and my husband, well, we were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. We moved to London in 2008, like for professional work purposes. We were just gonna, you know, how the Australians and South Africans and stuff kind of tend to come over, work for a few years and travel a bit and then go back home. But yeah, ended up deciding I wanted to qualify for the Olympics instead. So I know it sounds kind of strange, but I had raced as a junior elite up until the age of 18 before I went and did my law degree and stuff. And then at university, I wasn't doing triathlon. I was just running with a focus on my studies and everything. And then qualified in South Africa, did my articles or training contracts, as you call it in the UK, there. And then, yeah, worked there for a few years. And then we moved over. And then, yeah, so there was a buzz around London with the 2012 Olympics coming up. And it was just kind of by chance that my husband and I went to Windsor like the one day, like just as like to do the tourist thing, and the Windsor Triathlon was on. And there was like such a buzz about the race. There were so many people doing it, and it really just seemed like really cool and exciting and so much bigger than anything had been in South Africa. So I was like, wow, this is like kind of cool. I wonder if I could get back into triathlon. So I literally like Googled a triathlon coach in the area where we live in Southwest London in Richmond. And I found like the most qualified person I could find. Didn't know anything about them. Met up with James Beckinsale from Optima Racing Team, who is still my coach to this day. And yeah, I told him I wanted to go to the Olympics, and he thought I was crazy. I can understand. And yeah, started off as an age group athlete there. Learned a lot through him because I'd never had like a triathlon coach before. I'd had like a swimming coach, but no one had ever taught me like technically how to cycle, or I'd always been a naturally good runner, but James just helped me technically a lot, and I made some massive improvements. And then was still working in the city as a lawyer, racing as an age grouper. And then I tried racing a few, like I think it was European Cups maybe, which I managed to do. I wasn't doing like amazingly, and then I think I did 1 or 2 World Cups, which I did okay in, but I was competing against obviously professional athletes. And then the World Series triathlon was in London in 2010. I was still working at this stage, and I managed to get onto the start list because someone, I think, was injured or ill or something. And I went to the race briefing like in my lawyer's like suit and everything, and got onto the start list last minute. Raced, I think I came like second last after someone else left out the bike, like I think on this, I don't know, quite soon. So that was like a massive wake up call. I was like, okay, if you wanting to take this seriously, then you're going to have to either give up the law job or don't do it at all. So yeah, that's kind of like, that was a turning point for me. I then realized like, okay, it's all good and well having this dream to go to the Olympics and stuff, but if you really want to try and achieve it, you're going to have to just take a risk and give up your job and any financial security or anything and go for it, which is what I then did. And 18 months I managed to qualify. It was a bit crazy because I had to just go race like all over trying to accumulate points, and I think like in the last race or two I managed to I think I was like the second to last like athlete to qualify or something like that. But I did it. So yeah.
Amazing. Really inspiring how you did it as well. And you just went through your dream and it worked out. That's amazing. So is running your strongest discipline, would you say?
Yes, running's definitely my strongest. Just kind of naturally I've always got it. I suppose maybe just genetically, and I've always just loved running. So I'd say that's definitely my strongest.
So what are your 5K and 10K PBs? I tried looking at them, but I couldn't find much. I've
always run faster off the bike than on a flat 5 or 10. So I think like off the bike is like a 1640 something, and a 3406 or something for a 10K off the bike. So those are probably those best times.
They're really impressive times, And right, so there's someone just said they're 29 years old, age group duathlete, and they're preparing for Asia Championships soon, leaving their job. So good luck. Hope it works out for you. So you started training when you were like 10. You did swimming?
Okay,
so. Oh, sorry.
The connection just dropped there. Did I need to answer Islam? Was he asking a question or?
No. He was just saying that he's leaving his job, so it just happened to be straight after your mention. So I just wished him good luck. So you started running.
Awesome. Good luck.
So you started running quite early on. Did you start swimming and cycling early on when you were younger? Oh.
Yeah, so swimming I started at the age of 6, I think, with the local swimming club. There's a really strong swimming club in the city I'm from. My sister actually started, and one of my friends, her older sister started. So we were kind of a bit young, and we were just like thrown in like as a bit of fun at the age of 6. But I just remember running around with my friends. It was more fun than anything else. But that swimming club, Seals in Pietermaritzburg, has produced like quite a lot of Olympians. So still coached by the same coach as well, Wayne Ridden. I think he's got 3 athletes going to Tokyo Olympics. Yeah, and I guess just really lucky to, again, be part of that swimming club and part of that environment with so many, well, obviously Wayne as a very good swimming coach. He wasn't ever pushy or anything. I think just his whole demeanor and the whole environment was just conducive to having fun, but also success. And then seeing the older swimmers performing and going off to Olympics and stuff, that was massively inspiring for us younger swimmers coming through, to see, the guys that we looked up to going off to qualify and race. I remember them racing in I think it was Barcelona, like 1992 Olympics. I mean, we were still really small then, but having these guys from your club going to race was, massively inspiring. I think that's also, just again, so lucky to grow up in that environment and, just be rubbing shoulders with other athletes like that.
That's fair enough. There's a question here from Michael. So you've trained in so many places around the world. Where's been the best place for you to train?
Oh, wow. That's hard. Goodness me. I can't just pick out one, I don't think. I would say, weirdly enough, I've done a few camps in Namibia, which is a country just north of South Africa. There's a city called Windhoek, which is the capital. It's at altitude, so it's a really good place for altitude training, but it's really it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and there's not much there. It's just really remote and naturally beautiful. There's wild animals roaming around. It's got a 50-meter outdoor pool. Wow. And I think not many other athletes know about it, or maybe too scared or apprehensive to go there. So I've been there with the Dutch and Richard Murray a few times. I'd say, that's up there. And then where else? I enjoy Spain. I mean, Spain's great. There's so many different places in Spain to go. But I'd say Namibia is unique. It's probably one of the best places I guess I've been.
Fair enough. Sounds lovely. So you've obviously trained at these lovely places. You live in London. So why? How come you decide to stay in London after you quit your job? Well, after you left your job, is it because the training's better here?
My coach was there, and I think it's important when you're trying to improve to be near to your coach, particularly if you're professional athletes and you're training, 2 or 3 times a day, and you want to see improvements, and you want your coach there to just give you technical pointers, etc., and just keep an eye on you. So that was the main reason that I stayed in London. And living in the area I live in actually is pretty good for training. I'd say the negatives are just, pool access. The pools are fine. They're not amazing, but having Richmond Park right on my doorstep, it's amazing, for running. I don't think there's in many places in the world that are as good for running as Richmond Park, the Toe Park, Bushy Park, all in Southwest London. Richmond Park's great for shorter sessions, and getting out into the Surrey Hills and to Windsor's also great. And I'd say one of the main things is training through the horrible weather in the UK makes you really just mentally tough. And I think it prepares you for any race conditions that you face. I think if you're training in nice weather all the time, you just become a little bit soft. So I think it's been great because I've, raced in some horrific conditions and been absolutely fine. So, you look at the Brownlees, they spend most of their time in the UK training. And we know what it's like up north in Leeds. It's even worse than down south. So a lot of the British athletes, they'll do camps, but they'll spend most of their time training in the UK. And I think it makes you just really, really tough.
Yeah, I think you're right there. You got to train in all weathers, haven't you? All conditions to prepare for races, because you never know what's going to happen on race day.
Exactly.
So as we're on to training, how has COVID impacted your training? Because obviously it's your full-time job. So how have you been able to train around it?
Yeah, it's been a really, well, for everyone, it's been a unique situation and a really strange situation. So when everything started to happen in March last year, I was in Australia doing the Malulaba World Cup. And I think I had to rush back from there. I think it was like 3 or 4 days before the last flight back from Australia. And I'd actually joined a new training group at the time in Portugal, an international group of athletes. Taylor Spivey, Claire Michelle, Valerie Bartholomew, Summer Rappaport. I joined up with them in, I think it was November or December. So I hadn't been with the squad for long, and we returned to Portugal. And then everything obviously started closing down there. Faro Airport closed, and managed, I think, to get out of Lisbon in March. But that was also after we'd heard the announcement that the Olympics were postponed. That's kind of the reason why I went back to Portugal, because we were waiting to see what happened with the Olympics. So just returned to the UK, which I think was advisable. I didn't want to get stuck in a strange country all on my own. My husband was in London, so needed to get back. And just, I guess at that stage knew that everything was on hold for a year. I think it was just a relief for us to know that they had postponed the Olympics for a year, because it kind of just gave you a bit of a breather, and you're like, well, let me just go and enjoy the day-to-day process of everything, which is what I did. And I think, as we were discussing before we went live, the weather was amazing last year. I think we were so lucky with the first lockdown. So it was an absolute pleasure training in the UK over the lockdown. I think just mentally, for your mental health as well, being able to go outside and do a session outside, you just become so much more appreciative of being out there and just being healthy, training. And then as things eased up a bit, I found a group of people swimming in the Thames. I know it sounds disgusting, but it's not like in the Thames in London. It's further upstream in Teddington, where they've done water quality tests and things. And joined up with a group of people and made a whole lot of new friends, which was really cool. And we would swim in the river every morning. We'd swim like to Kingston Bridge and back, which is like 4 Ks or something. It was great. It was something different. The pools are closed. We're getting to swim, and it's something that I never would have done before. I think I just found, things to motivate me, just enjoyed the day-to-day of everything. Did things that I wouldn't normally be able to do. Like I did ride to London and to Brighton and back, that type of thing. That would normally be way too far for me to do for a training ride. Just found fun in the day-to-day stuff. Obviously it wasn't easy, because doing all your training on your own, etc. But I just tried to stay positive and just think of it as a bit of a break, a kind of like a year break, if you want to call it that. And was quite lucky to then get to Estonia in August, and joined up with some of my training friends then, and then kind of like races for us kind of started then. So not too bad, I suppose.
That's not too bad. Okay, so
No.
So how many? What does a typical week of training look like for you, and how many times a week do you train? That's an answer a question. Sorry, that a lot of people ask.
I don't think there's like a magic recipe for any person, which is also kind of what I've learned the last few years. But personally, I would say my sweet spot is 25 hours a week. I've tried 30. That's too much for me. I will swim 6 times a week, and I will cycle 5 to 6 times a week and run 5 to 6 times a week. Normally, I'll have, normally do everything, most things every day, basically. I'll have a full rest day on a Friday, basically, that seems to work for me. Yeah, when I joined up with the other training group, I increased my volume, didn't have any rest days, and I actually ended up getting slower. So I've learned that, yeah, my body needs a rest day. Yeah, rest is a bit underrated, I think. So yeah, don't be scared to take any days off or time off if you're tired, particularly if you have a job and you're an age group triathlete. I think sometimes rest can be more benefit than just like trying to plow through when you're exhausted. And that's, I think, one of massive valuable lesson that I learned like within the last, I suppose, year and a half.
Yeah. It's good to see that you've learned from that and made the mistakes, because there's a lot of people that don't believe in rest and they think, oh, they're just going to keep pushing their bodies and they just go, as you said, they get slower and slower because they're tired. But yeah, it's good that you know that you need the rest day, and yeah, it really helps you. So there's Mohammed here has asked, what things have you learned on your journey as an athlete that you wish you knew earlier?
I guess, yeah, one of those would be just not worrying about taking a rest day, like I've just said. What else have I learned? Yeah, just also if you have a bad race or something, you think like not the world's going to end, but you think everyone thinks, oh, I've had a bad race, but actually people don't care. Yeah, so forget about it, move on, pick yourself up and focus on the next one. That's a massively valuable one for me. And luckily, when you do have, quite a few races lined up in the season, if you do have a bad one, you can be like, whatever, we all have a bad day. Pick yourself up and brush yourself off, go back to training the next week and just focus on the next one. And no one really cares, actually. Like, obviously you care, but people are not going to judge you or think of you as a worse person if you have a bad race. I think that's something that I've massively learned, in these later years.
And if we flip that around the other way, what has been your most, for you, your most proudest performance in a race? What one stands out most for you?
Ooh, proudest performance. Wow. I would say, obviously, when you're having, I would say, okay, let's forget like the really great results. Those are all massively proud performances. But let's think about something like in Abu Dhabi. When was it? I don't know if you remember the year where everyone was crashing on the Formula One circuits because it had rained. I think it was like 2018, perhaps. Anyway, so there was a bit of rain on the Formula One circuit and everyone was crashing on the bike. And I was behind a girl and she crashed. And I had nowhere to go, just went straight over her. I knew I was hurt, but I didn't know how hurt I was. But I jumped straight back on my bike and carried on. There was a pack behind me, managed to get onto that pack and just like stay there. And I was like determined that I was going to try and get through the race. Then got onto the run and literally like, I think 200 meters into the run, I tried to run and I just collapsed. And I then obviously later realized that I'd torn ligaments in my shoulder, I'd broken, I think, 2 ribs. So how I actually managed to get back onto the bike and try and finish the race, I have no idea. But yeah, I guess that was a proud moment, to try and not give up and keep going. But I've had a few like that. I think where I've crashed and managed to try and get back on the bike and finish.
Wow, yeah, sounds nasty. I mean, I've seen a few of them. Yeah, I've seen a few of the crashes, and they're not great. Sometimes people are so lucky with how they get away with it, don't they? But that sounds horrific. There's one from Colin King. So he said, how's your training changed in order to peak the right time for major championships? So obviously you got the Olympics. So how would you peak now? Because you've raced a lot.
Yes. So Olympics are like 6 weeks away. So I've been through a block where I've done, I think, 5 races, and obviously haven't trained much in between because you can't train too much in between races. You don't want to. Your body needs to recover and prepare for the next one. So for me, these 6 weeks are back to kind of back to basics, I guess, and just addressing any detraining that might have happened. And I guess kind of going back to where I would have been in a similar position 6 weeks before those first races that I did. So I'm doing a lot of similar sessions. And just addressing any weaknesses that I think I might have had in these last few races. But it's all about getting back into hard training. Hard work. And then what will happen is, if I feel like it's mostly for me going to be a lot of quality. I've had a massive base over the winter. I think that's important. Where you do the long, slow miles and stuff over winter, get a really good base. And that sets you up well for a summer of racing. So when you have had a period like I have had now, where I've detrained a bit, I don't need to worry about going to do, massive endurance sessions, but I'll have quite a lot of quality sessions that I'll focus on, and that'll get me sharp again for those next few races. And then, I'll probably back off, I would say maybe 7 days before, 10 to 7 days before, just reduce, keep a bit of intensity in there, but reduce the volume a bit. And then as it gets closer and closer, obviously reduce it more and more. But that would probably be the recipe moving forward.
So you mentioned there about you do in the winter, like where you do doing long base mileage, slower mileage. In regards to runs, there's quite a big question that comes up quite often: is how slow do you run your longer slow runs?
So I don't really go off heart rate apart from on easy stuff to make sure that I'm going easy enough. So for me, I'll keep all of my long, easy runs at a heart rate below 135. And I don't worry about the pace, really. Just keep the heart rate at that. And more often than not, it's definitely over 5 minutes a K. My easy runs, I would say, hover. It depends if they're flat or hilly, but they hover between 5 minutes to 5:30. And it doesn't bother me if I'm running 5:30 a K. I really don't care. It's the heart rate, so long as it's easy. That's the main thing. And I think it's a mistake, and it's also a mistake that I've learned. So a lot of age groupers make the mistake they do their easy sessions too hard and their hard sessions too easy. So then most of your training is done like in this gray area where you're actually not getting the benefit that you need to get. So essentially, you want to keep your easy stuff really easy, and you want to do your hard stuff, quality stuff, hard.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the formula, isn't it? But yeah, some people they don't realise, and they go into like the moderate, for example, and as you said, the grey area. But so there's another one. It's another question here. So this person's saying, how do pro athletes adjust find the right hydration for them? So obviously you've competed at really hot, at Rio. You've competed at like hot countries, Abu Dhabi. So how do you make sure you've got the right hydration for you?
That's a good question. And it's also something that I'm having to do right now because Tokyo is going to be extraordinarily humid. I mean, the temperature, I think, is supposed to be between 30 and 35 degrees with 90% humidity. It's crazy how humid it's going to be. So I do sympathize with you. And yeah, it's a great question. So a bit of trial and error and individualization, but yeah, make sure that I take a bit more electrolytes, have some extra salt on my food. Like at the moment training here, sorry, I'm in Cyprus, for any of you that don't know that. I'm in Cyprus, and it's above 30 degrees and the humidity is, I think, just above 70. So it is quite warm, and I'm having to make sure I have a little bit of extra salt on my food, some electrolytes, tablets, which you can buy from any of the main sports nutrition companies. So you have those in a bottle, along with your carb or your water drink on your bike. And yeah, the key is just staying hydrated through the day as well, not just going out on the session and trying to drink, just making sure like throughout the day, particularly if you're at work or something, you just have a drink next to you and you're sipping on that drink. which is what I would also do in the lead up to a race if I'm somewhere hot. Just always have a bottle with me and kind of just make sure that at least one of my bottles that day has electrolytes in it, some extra salt. And yeah, the way to get used to racing in humid weather, you obviously have to train in it a bit or do some like heat chamber work. So yeah, I'm just lucky to be training here at the moment with Tokyo. But once I get back to the UK in the next few weeks, I'm going to have to find some heat chamber sessions.
Hopefully the weather will get. I mean, we've had a couple of nice weeks, but yeah, it's gone a bit dire again. So hopefully the weather warms up by the time you get back.
That would be lovely. Thanks.
So this is a big one, recovery. How do you recover after like your hard sessions, or what do you do to aid recover, or after a race? Because obviously you said you were busy racing to qualify for the Olympics, so you quite a busy chunk the last month. So how do you recover?
I would always have a protein drink, and again, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Chocolate milk from the shop works perfectly, and that's something I actually really like. It's nice and refreshing. So make sure you get a protein drink in you within 30 minutes of your training or your racing. And yeah, if you have another race or you're trying to recover quickly for a session, an ice bath perhaps, which is also pretty easy to do. Just throw a whole lot of ice in the bath and sit in there for 10 minutes, and then you can also alternate, have an ice bath and then jump or run a hot bath straight afterwards, so it flushes the blood through all your muscles. And yeah, if you've got access to a massage, just a light massage, you don't want anything too heavy. And yeah, just if you have or even a massage gun, and some compression tights to wear. Those are basically all things that I kind of do between races.
And what about sleep? Like, how much sleep do you try and get?
Oh yeah, that's a good point actually. That was something I was thinking while the question was being asked. Sleep is a massive one, and that's actually probably one of the main differences between age group athletes and professional athletes is the amount of sleep. So yeah, I try and get like 9 to 10 hours a night. And then if I've got if I have a hard session, say in the morning, I'll definitely have a nap between sessions or in the afternoon or something. But yeah, sleep is one of the best aids of recovery ever. And that's probably the main difference. It's not actually all the extra training that professionals are able to get in, but it's actually the recovery and the sleep that we're able to get, I suppose, compared to age group athletes who might be, working and not be able to get that extra recovery in.
That's really interesting because some people say, oh, you don't need they don't need the sleep, but then they get injured a lot. Yeah, it's very interesting what you say. The difference between amateurs and the professionals. So that's really good answer. Very interesting. So what out of all the races you've done, what is your most favorite race?
I love racing in Japan because it's just so unique there. So I love the Yokohama race. The Japanese are crazy about triathlon, and the crowds are always mad. Like even now in May when we race in Yokohama, I thought with the COVID situation there would be no one, but there were crowds and they were all still going crazy. And it's just really always well organized and just a fantastic place to visit. Obviously, we weren't allowed out the hotel this time around, but I've been fortunate to visit there, quite a few times. I just love racing there, the combination between all the ancient traditions and just the high-tech, modern. It's just like a kind of like a culture clash almost, but it's just a really cool place to go and visit and race at the same time. It's always well organized, and they always treat the athletes really well, and the people always just absolutely love you.
I mean, when I watch it on the TV, it looks a good course and it looks like a good event. So
yeah, no, it's a beautiful place to race. I've been fortunate to race in a few parts of Japan, and I must say it's definitely one of my favorite countries to race in.
Fingers crossed the Olympics is just as good, or if not.
Yeah.
So with so when you first started, what was your goal when you first started triathlon?
Like when I started as a junior?
Yeah, because we know that you wanted to come when you became a lawyer. You wanted to become, you wanted to go to the Olympics. But yes. What was your goal before that as a junior?
I would say also going to the Olympics. That was like a childhood dream of mine. But as you know, triathlon was only made an Olympic sport in 2000. So I'd say kind of like before then, it was more like my dream. I wanted to go for athletics or something like that. And then when triathlon was made an Olympic sport, then I would say for sure it was definitely an aspiration to go to the Olympics. I've got an older sister who also raced professionally. So I guess, I didn't feel any pressure because it almost felt like the pressure was on her a bit. Just had fun with it, enjoyed it. I always find triathlon a really cool sport because it's just, you're always able to improve something with the 3 different elements. And it feels like you're always trying to master, you're always trying to master and have that perfect race where everything fits together. And I think that's pretty unique about our sport. So I think I just love like trying to be the best that I can be and trying to like master each element.
Fair enough. And so that was your goals previous, but what about now? What are your goals now? Because obviously you're going to,
Well, I'm at the end of my career now. So the idea for me would be to probably retire after Tokyo. So I suppose I want to go out with a bang. I would say one of the main motivating factors to go to this Tokyo Olympics as well is having the mixed relay. You get a second shot at a medal on that, and the mixed relay is so unpredictable.
You've got a very strong South African team.
Yeah, so I'd like to go improve on my results in London and Rio, which were 19th and 23rd. I'd love to come in the top 10 and just be competitive and just go and race as hard as I can. And then, definitely go and try and get a medal in the mixed relay and just go out with a bang, enjoy myself, enjoy the whole experience. That's basically the goal now.
Huge good luck. I'll be rooting for you and watching it. I'll be watching it and looking forward to it. Good luck. In regards to like a lot of triathletes who do the World Triathlon Series, they start going longer. Do you not fancy going longer?
No, not really. I've done I think 3 70.3s, and as much as I enjoyed them, I did them off of Olympic distance training, which I think you can do. So I've never specifically prepared for one, but I don't know. I like the fast stuff. I like that lactate burn that you get with Olympic distance and the relay and everything. So no, at this stage, I would say I'm not interested in going long. I've really loved my career so far, and I've loved racing on the World Triathlon circuit. So no, I mean, I might change my mind, but I still also want to have a family and that type of thing. So I think that will be the priority after Tokyo, is to start a family, and then I'll see after that.
That's good enough. That's a perfect excuse, isn't it? So if someone, so what advice would you give to someone that wants to start triathlon?
Well, I would say it's a really cool and fun sport. Don't be daunted, because I think a lot of people are put off because triathlon sounds so hardcore. But it's not really. Go, and you don't need a fancy bike. You don't need any of the fancy equipment when you're just starting your first triathlon. If you want more advice, that type of thing, I'd advise going to join up with a local club where people will be able to help you, give you some pointers, tell you which races to enter, that type of thing. I think British Triathlon also has the Go Try thing going as well, which is pretty good. I think it's for beginners. So maybe have a look on, like, if you're part of British Triathlon, have a look on the Go Try. I think it's on their website. Other parts of the world, I say just, look out for other, like, triathlon groups. I think in general, the triathlon community is really friendly and helpful. I think most of us, we love the fact that other people want to get involved in our sport. So, don't be daunted. Just go and try it, I guess. Have some fun.
And everyone's friendly as well. That's what
Absolutely.
I like.
Yeah.
Okay, so who was your athletic hero when you were a child?
So they're both two South African female athletes, Penny Haynes and Ilana Meyer. So Penny Haynes, double Olympic gold breaststroke swimmer, and Ilana Meyer. South Africa only re-entered the Olympics in 1992 because of apartheid, and obviously I was a very young child then, and she was one of the first to win a medal. She won the silver medal in the 10,000 meters on the track. So Ilana for the running and inspiring all the young little girls growing up in South Africa. And then, Penny Haynes, swimmer. She belonged again to the same swim club that I was part of. So, got to see her, rub shoulders with her. And she's just a really nice person and was always happy to help any of us young kids and always willing to chat to us and stuff. And hugely inspirational.
And I was going to say is when you did your first when you went to London in 2010, and you were at that start line and you saw these like famous names. What did it feel like that you were there? How did it?
It was quite funny because, as I said, I rocked up in my pencil skirts and my suit jacket and everything, and I remember sitting at the back of the auditorium, and in front of me was like Emma Moffatt and Emma Snorsel, the two Emmas, and they were at the top of the game at the time. I was just thinking, wow, it's the Emma Moffatt and Emma Snorsel. I'm racing in the same race as them. So, just like, I guess, starstruck, I suppose. And then I guess as you start to get to know the girls and race with them, then you realize they're just other girls like you, I suppose.
What did it feel like as well when you started beating these people that you obviously inspired you and like you were like, wow, blown away, like after going to the Olympic stuff and you started beating them? How did it feel?
I mean, that's massive because I think you've sat and watched these people on TV and they've been, untouchable, out of reach, like, I'll never race with them type of thing. And then there you are racing with them and beating them. So I think, massively motivational. So just really cool experience, I guess. Shows you how far you've come, I guess, once you get to that point.
Nice. Yeah, it's amazing, like amazing achievement. I mean, I only I started. Well, I only got into I got into multi-sport. Well, into sport, full stop, in 2012. So I was inspired by Olympic Games. So just seeing like people like yourselves and stuff doing really well, and it inspires me and inspires loads of other people. So I've got a few more questions, and then I'm going to let you go because obviously it's late in Cyprus. And so we've got one from Colin. I'm not quite sure what he means by this one, but he says, do you think female triathletes will ever compete with men in major competitions? So I'm assuming he means in the same race.
Oh, in the same race. No, I don't think so. I don't think like against each other in the same race. Obviously, I think there'll always be separate categories, male and female categories, I guess. But I know they do have races. I think there's one in Australia, like a handicap, where they set the men off, I think, behind the women, like compared to the last year's results. And then they see if the men catch the women, and whoever wins overall is like the winner, regardless of your gender, which is quite fun, I guess. But I don't know. I don't see that happening, but maybe, I don't know. Let's see.
Okay, yeah, you're right. What he said yes at the end of it. So
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got a few more. So have you got any stories where races haven't gone well and then you've learned from it, and then you've gone to another race and you've bounced back and you've had a really successful race as a result of it?
Yeah, all the time. I think you're learning all the time, but obviously more so at the beginning of my career. With regards to swimming, positioning on the swim, open water, how physical it can be, going around the buoys, that type of thing, your breakout speed, learning from those things, which I think you can only learn from a race. And then again, with our racing on the bike, things are pretty technical. So making sure that you're safe in the pack, not going behind girls who might have dodgy bike skills, that type of thing, making sure your positioning is good. So you saving energy, as opposed to if you're at the back of the pack, you waste a lot of energy when there gaps with the wheels and that type of thing. Yeah, and I guess skills like just running off the bike, as we know, that's kind of a unique feeling. So practicing that, if you feel like you're not nailing your running off the bike, doing a few brick sessions, that type of thing. But for sure, like even now, I guess I'm learning all the time. I think triathlon's evolving all the time, so I'm always learning new things.
That's good answer. What like swimming, people find swimming normally the hardest discipline out of the three. And I mean, when I took it up in 2012, I couldn't swim, but there's other people that will be in the same boat that can't swim, and then they don't see that they give up because they don't see any gains. What advice would you give them with their swimming?
Yeah, swimming I think can be a struggle, and as you say, like a massive deterrent for people. But I would say I've seen so many like people who come to my coach and to our club who can hardly swim, and then I don't know, like James is really good technically, just turns them around and their swimming improves massively. So my advice would be find a swim coach who can help you. Even if you go to them like a few lessons, I think it's definitely money well spent, or even watching, some stuff online, getting someone to video you, that type of thing, because you might think you're doing something in the water, but more often than not, it's totally different to what you think you're doing. So yeah, I'd say find someone who can help you with your swim technique, because the technique, I would say, is the biggest thing in swimming, where you're going to see the biggest gains. Just small things like your head position and your body position, those type of things can be improved so easily. So that would be my main advice, I would say.
Okay. All right. Last question, and then I'll let you go. Because we haven't really spoken about nutrition that much. So what kind of guilty pleasure food do you have?
Oh, everything. My sister's a dietitian. She's a sports dietitian. I know what I'm supposed to eat and what everything in moderation is her advice, and that's something that I pretty much follow religiously. I don't stop myself from eating certain foods. If I want to have a piece of cake on a ride, or if I want to have a piece of cake in a coffee shop, then I do it. I'm doing enough training to be able to do it. So long as I'm getting all the good stuff in, then everything in moderation. So I pretty much eat everything. But having said that, I think generally I do eat healthy. It's not like I go and get a takeaway. I eat healthily, but if there's a treat, then I don't stop myself from having a treat. But healthy, lots of fruit, lots of vegetables, just good carbs, protein, just very simple. Keep it simple, and everything moderation. That's my advice.
Okay, well, that'll be a wrap then. So there's no more questions come through. So thank you very much for coming on the show, and all the best with the up and coming Olympics, and fingers crossed for you for the relay as well. Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for joining us. And There'll be another episode coming very soon. So thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.